These are secret warehouses in Switzerland that have held Nazi-looted art for decades without anyone knowing. Behind the plain concrete walls of the Geneva Freeport sits one of the largest art storage facilities on Earth, and for years it operated with almost no outside oversight at all. What is a Freeport? A Freeport is a tax-free storage zone, and the Geneva Freeport is one of the oldest and largest examples still running today. Because goods stored there are treated as being in transit rather than in Switzerland itself, owners can hold art for decades without paying import taxes. And until reforms began around 2009, they weren't required to keep detailed inventories either. A 2014 estimate from the Swiss Finance Ministry put the value of goods sitting inside Swiss freeports at over 100 billion francs, and almost none of that had ever been seen by regulators, journalists, or the public. The Modigliani case. The clearest example of what that secrecy could hide involves a single painting, Amedeo Modigliani's Seated Man with a Coin, painted in 1918. The work belonged to Oskar Stettner, a Jewish art dealer in Paris who had shown it at the Venice Biennale in 1930. When the Nazis invaded and Stettner fled the city, he left the painting behind, and in 1944, it was sold off at a Nazi-run auction to an American dealer. The painting then disappeared from public view for decades, only surfacing again in 2008 at an auction where it went unsold amid questions about its history. That's when it vanished into the Geneva Freeport, registered not under a person's name, but under a Panama-based shell company, which kept the real owners hidden from view. The Panama Papers break it open. The truth came out in 2016, when the leaked Panama Papers revealed that the painting, valued at around $25 million, was tied to the Nahmad family, a well-known art-dealing dynasty. Stettner's grandson, Felipe Maestracci, had already filed a restitution claim years earlier, arguing the painting was rightfully his family's. Once the Panama Papers connected the shell company to the Nahmads, Geneva prosecutor Claudio Mascotto moved fast. In 2017, his office raided a storage unit inside the Freeport belonging to an art handling company, searching specifically for the Modigliani. Investigators never publicly confirmed whether they found it, and the painting's exact whereabouts remain disputed to this day. Not an isolated case. The Modigliani wasn't the only piece of hidden history the Freeport system exposed. Antiquities dealer Giacomo Medici was convicted in 2005 for trafficking looted artifacts through the same kind of Freeport secrecy, implicating major museums like the Getty and the Met in the process. In 2003, Geneva police found 200 smuggled ancient Egyptian artifacts stored there, disguised as tourist souvenirs. None of that was Nazi loot specifically, but it showed the same pattern. Things worth hiding tend to end up behind Freeport walls. The Gurlitt discovery. Around the same time these Freeport scandals were unfolding, a separate and even larger story broke in Germany. Hundreds of artworks turned up in the Munich apartment of Cornelius Gurlitt, whose father Hildebrand had been an art dealer commissioned by Hitler himself to sell pieces looted from Jewish collectors or seized as so-called degenerate art. 5 years after that discovery, the collection went on public display in November 2017, with parallel exhibitions in Geneva and at the Bundeskunsthalle Museum in Bonn, giving the public its first real look at what had been hidden. Where things stand together, the Modigliani case and the Gurlitt discovery forced a reckoning. Collectors began pulling pieces out of Geneva's Freeport as prosecutors and foreign governments started paying closer attention, and Switzerland tightened its inventory and customs rules in response. Even so, Freeports in Geneva, Luxembourg, and Singapore still operate with a level of secrecy that makes them, according to researchers, one of the most likely places on Earth for looted art to sit quietly, waiting for no one to ask the right question.